This is part 33, and in this part we intend to deal with the provisions regarding abduction and kidnapping. In order to know the provisions regarding the same, and especially in order to know what do you mean by abduction, we have to refer to section 362 of the Indian Penal Code, and it defines abduction as follows: whoever by force compels or by any deceitful means induces any person to go from any place is said to abduct that person. So it's very clear as far as the definition is concerned that what do you mean by abduction, or when it can be said that one person has abducted another person is defined as far as section 362 of the Indian Penal Code is concerned. But mind well and remember it, abduction is not at all an offense. If it happens that the quarrel takes place between A and B, first of all there is a hot exchange of words which has resulted into hot exchange of blows, and there are many who are who were by their side. Now what is bound to happen? Somebody will try to take away, for example, A's friend may try to take away Mr. A so that the fighting should not continue, and the B's friend may take away Mr. B from that particular place in order to avoid the fight which is going on. So Mr. A is taken away by Mr. C, who is his friend, and Mr. B is taken away by D, who is his friend, from that place to some other place in order to avoid the fight. What is done? Mr. C has abducted Mr. A and Mr. D has abducted Mr. B. But this is why? Because whoever by force, if you read it says whoever by force compels or by deceitful means induces any person to go from any place is said to abduct him. And hence what are the means that are used as far as abduction is concerned? Force, compulsion or deceitful means because of which you induce a person to go from one place to another place. In that case it can be said that he has been abducted. So here both the friends have abducted Mr. A and Mr. B accordingly, but that is not at all an offense. What it says, it merely defines what do you mean by abduction as far as section 362 of the Indian Penal Code is concerned. Right from section 300, and if you read right from section 364 onwards, then you will come to know section 364 lays down punishment when person is abducted with a particular intent, and it says kidnapping or abducting in order to murder. So if a person is abducted in order to murder him, that constitutes liability as far as section 364 is concerned, with which we shall be dealing in detail afterwards. Or if you read section 365, kidnapping or abducting with intent secretly and wrongfully to confine a person, or if you read section 366 which says kidnapping or abducting or inducing woman to compel her to marriage, is dealt as far as section 366 is concerned. In other words, abduction is not at all an offense, but abduction with a particular intent as it is dealt by sections with which we are just now referred to 364, 365 and 366, which are made. These are the where the abduction is made punishable, provided it is a person is abducted with a particular intent, otherwise not. Now as we learn abduction, a person, for example, Mr. A may be abducted from room number 1 to room number 2. From there he may be abducted from room number 2 to room number 3. From there he may be abducted to room number 3 to room number 4 accordingly, and this will continue. In other words, abduction is a continuing act. It continues. The distance is immaterial. So whether you abduct a person from one city to another city, one part of the city to another part of the city, one part of the state to another part of the state, or from one state to another state, whatever it might be, but I mean abduction is a continuing act, and in case of abduction, as it is made very clear, whoever, what it says, whoever by force compels. And what do you mean whoever by force compels? In order to understand what do you mean by force, you will have to have reference to what do you mean by force as is defined by section 349 of the Indian Penal Code, with which you have dealt in detail. So what are the means that are employed as far as this abduction is concerned? Force, compulsion, or deceitful means. You tell a person to come to a particular place because some friend is waiting over there, and actually in fact the friend is not waiting over there. He goes from one place to another place in order to meet his friend as told to him, but actually in fact friend is not there. So there is, I mean, deception is practiced, deceitful means are employed, and by employing, so by force, by compulsion, or by deceitful means, if you induce any person to go from any place, is said to abduct that person as per section 362 of the Indian Penal Code is concerned. So that is what I mean. As we want to, I mean, know, we have started discussing the topic of trying to understand kidnapping and abduction. First of all, section 362 makes it very clear: whoever by force compels or by deceitful means induces any person to go from any place is said to abduct him accordingly. That is as per section 362. With this now, when we talk about kidnapping, the literal meaning of the term kidnapping is child stealing. But as far as Indian Penal Code is concerned, when we refer to section 359 of the, which tells you, which merely says kidnapping, and then it says kidnapping is of two kinds: kidnapping from India and kidnapping from lawful guardianship. Now this kidnapping from India is an offence. Kidnapping from lawful guardianship is an offence, and kidnapping from India is defined by section 360, whereas section 361 of the Indian Penal Code defines the offence of kidnapping from lawful guardianship. And then as you try to read the section and then analyze the section as far as section 360 is concerned, it says whoever conveys any person beyond the limits of India without the consent of that person. So if a person is conveyed, that he is taken beyond the territorial limits of India without his consent, that will amount to the offence of kidnapping from India as far as the first part of the section is concerned, or of some person legally authorized on behalf of that person. So it is whose consent? The consent given by the person, if at all his consent is a valid consent, and for that you will have to again have reference to what? You will have to have reference to section 90 of the Indian Penal Code. So who, I mean, without the consent of that person or of some person legally authorized to consent on behalf of that person, is said to kidnap that person from India. So now this, I mean, in a case where the person is taken whose consent is not valid consent, and for example, when we shall be dealing with section 84 of the Indian Penal Code, which deals with insanity as a defense, there will learn that if the, and then this has got also reference to section 90, with which I mean you can have ready reference over there. And then if the consent is given by a person who from unsoundness of mind is unable to know the nature and the act for which he consents as far as section 90 is concerned, or if the person is intoxicated and the nature of the intoxication is such that it's not possible for him to understand the nature, as I mean, this has got reference to what? As I told you, this has got reference to section 90, which says if the consent is given by a person who from unsoundness of mind or intoxication is unable to understand the nature and the consequences of that to which he gives his consent. So in that case, if the consent, who has to give a consent? Somebody legally authorized to consent on that behalf, his behalf or her behalf. And then last part of the section says, unless the contrary appears from the context, if the consent is given by a person who is under 12 years of age. So the consent given by a person who is under 12 years of age is not at all valid consent, and there whose consent is required? The consent of some person who is legally authorized to consent on behalf of that person is required. So this is, I mean, whoever conveys any person beyond the limits of India without the consent of that person, or some person legally authorized to consent on behalf of that person, is said to kidnap that person. Now, to understand this, when we refer to the term consent, Mr. A tells Mr. B, you come with me to some foreign country, and then both of us will go, and I will see that, I mean, you start earning 10 times than what you earn over here. And he has asked, A has asked Mr. B to do the rest of the things as far as the passport is concerned, then travel as far as the fare, as far as travel is concerned, and rest of the, and both of them go to the place. And once they go to the place, A tells Mr. B, now you manage yourself. Now what he has done? Mr. A has committed the offence as defined by section 360, because what he has done? He has taken Mr. B, he has conveyed Mr. B beyond the limits of India without his consent. Now why we say it is without his consent? Because consent has got reference to section 90 of the Indian Penal Code. And what it says, a consent is not such a consent as is intended by any one of the sections of this code if the consent is given by a person under fear of injury or under misconception of fact, and if the person doing the act knows or has reason to believe that the consent was given in consequence of such fear or misconception. So if this fact, he is not going to provide him any job over there, it may not, I mean, he will not show him the way in which it is possible for him to earn 10 times than what he was earning at a place, and then what I mean, he has practiced deception. So the consent which is given under misconsent, as I mean, when we were discussing consent, we have learned, if the consent is given under fear of injury, or if the consent is given under misconception of the fact, that is not at all a valid consent, and if such a person is conveyed. So this is the means, here there is no element of force, because he tells him come, he accompanies, but that is not at all a valid consent as far as section 90 of the Indian Penal Code is concerned. Or he may uses a force and takes Mr. B beyond the territorial limits of India. So there, once he crosses the boundary marks of India, whichever may be the place where he takes him, the liability is for the offence of kidnapping, and hence this offence of kidnapping from India can be committed with respect to person irrespective of the age of the person. So major may be say kidnapped from India, a minor may be kidnapped from India, a person without guardian, namely an orphan, can be kidnapped from India if the orphan is taken out of where, if the orphan is taken beyond the territorial limits of India. And hence this is these are the ingredients which says, whoever conveys any person beyond the limits of India without the consent of that person, or of some person legally authorized to consent on behalf of that person, is said to kidnap that person. So in the illustration with which we are discussing, A tells Mr. B, we will go, and they both of them wait at the airport. Police get this information from a reliable source and Mr. A is arrested. This is merely a stage of preparation, because instead of proceeding further, entering into the aircraft, he may take a decision to come back again. Both of them sit in the airport, it takes off, and then because of some problem, technical difficulty, the aircraft has landed back again. What is liability? Whatever was required to be done on the part of Mr. A is done by him. His intention was to take Mr. B beyond the territorial limits of India. There was a preparation. Whatever he wanted to do is done by him. He has crossed the stage of preparation, and his liability, what we can say. So this can be correlated with stages regarding commission of an offence, namely intention, preparation, attempt, and commission. So once A has crossed the stage of preparation and enters the stage of what is known as an attempt, there starts his liability, because he may be, if he takes him beyond the territorial limits of India, if he wanted to take to place X, and then for this reason or that reason, they, instead of taking to place X, he is taken to place Y. The liability is the same because it doesn't speak about a particular place. He says whoever conveys any person beyond the limits of India commits the offence without his consent, commits the offence of kidnapping from India as far as section 360 of the Indian Penal Code is concerned. With this now, section 361 defines the offence of kidnapping from lawful guardianship, and this offence can be committed only with respect to a minor. And then it says whoever takes, where there may be an element of physical force also taking a person. The person, for example, the minor is not ready and willing and the force is used with the help of which is taken, then that is what is known as taking. Or whoever takes, or the other part is that entices any minor under 16 years of age if male, or under 18 years of age if female, or any person of unsound mind, out of the keeping of the lawful guardian of such minor or person of unsound mind, without the consent of such guardian, is said to kidnap such minor or person from lawful guardianship. So this is an offence where the offence is not with respect to the minor, we can say, but it is with respect to the right of the guardian to have custody of the ward. And hence, if the guardian is deprived of, and who is the guardian? Lawful guardian. So it is, the term is not legal guardian, it speaks about lawful guardian. And the explanation to section very clearly says, the word lawful guardian in this section include any person lawfully entrusted with the care or custody of such minor or other person. So here, legal guardian, he may not be a legal guardian. If he is entrusted with the care and custody of such minor or other person, then he becomes a lawful guardian as far as the explanation to this section is concerned. And what is done? The first, he says, one who takes. So if Mr. A has taken a girl whose age is 9 out of the keeping of the lawful guardian, when he commits the offence of kidnapping from, here what is the age where the consent becomes valid as far as the minor is concerned, and it says this has got reference to what? Last ingredient as far as section 90 is concerned, which says unless the contrary appears in the context if the consent is given by a person who is under 12 years of age, that is general age. But what is the contrary? If in case of a male, when he is under 16 years of age, his consent is not at all valid consent, and in case of a female, when she is under 18 years of age, her consent is not at all valid consent, as long as he or she continues or is in the keeping of the lawful guardianship. So now, one who is in the keeping of the lawful guardian, and such a minor is taken away or enticed. For example, if the father and mother, they do not give proper treatment to the child whose age is round about 9, because of which neighbor had talked with the child and says, you don't stay with such father and mother, come with me, I will take you to some other place, and he is taken to such a place. Yes, there, even though his motive is laudable, he wanted to do something good in the life, but as he has taken, there is an enticement. It is because of the talk with the minor that the minor was ready and willing to accompany him, and hence that constitutes liability for the offence of kidnapping from lawful guardianship as far as section 361 is concerned. There are, when the age of the girl is just 16, but her appearance is such that there are sometimes appearances are deceptive. Because of the appearance, one feels that she is more than 18 years of age, and a boy had a talk with the girl, and both of them decided to run away and marry. Boy is liable because even though he may feel that the age of the girl is more than 18 years of age, but what is the requirement of the section? if the consent is given by a girl who is under 18 years of age. That is not at all a valid consent when and if she is taken out of the keeping of the lawful guardian, that constitutes liability. This section deals with a minor in case of male under 16 years of age, in case of a female under 18 years of age, and it also deals with a person of unsound mind, because the consent which is given by, so in case of a person of unsound mind, the question of age doesn't arise, because the consent which is given by such a person who is a person of unsound mind is not at all valid consent as far as section 90 of the Indian Penal Code is concerned. Now, this offense can take place when whoever, the first ingredient to who you can say, whoever takes or entices. Secondly, this offense can be committed with respect to a minor male when he is under 16 years of age, or with respect to minor female when she is under 18 years of age, or a person of unsound mind. And then, when the offense is complete. The offense is complete as soon as such a minor or such a person of unsound mind is taken out of the keeping of the lawful guardian. In the illustration which we are discussing, the man never told the girl, "You come to railway station, and from there, we will go away." And the girl leaves the place of the father and mother and comes to the railway station. There starts his liability, because now the father and mother have got no control. She has been taken out of the keeping of the lawful guardian. Or the bus may be called at the bus stop also, and then the person, as long as she is waiting at the bus stop, she continues in the keeping of the lawful guardian. But once a boy meets her there and both of them start walking over there, even if one step is taken, the boy has taken the girl out of the keeping of the lawful guardian, and hence the liability is for the offense of kidnapping from lawful guardianship as far as section 361 of the Indian Penal Code is concerned. To this section now, if you read the exception, it says, "This section does not extend to the act of any person who in good faith believes himself to be the father of an illegitimate child, or who in good faith believes himself to be entitled to the lawful custody of such child, unless such act is committed for an immoral or unlawful purpose." So it says this section does not extend to the act of any person who in good faith believes himself to be the father of an illegitimate child. That is one thing. Or who in good faith believes himself to be entitled, if he believes himself to be entitled to the lawful custody of such child, unless the act is committed for an immoral or unlawful purpose, then this is where this is an exception, where the question of liability as far as the offense of kidnapping from lawful guardianship doesn't arise. With this now, if the age of the girl is 10, and the girl, because of the treatment that is given by the stepmother and which is ignored by the father, the girl decides to leave the place and go anywhere. And now when she is at the railway station, a man meets her. The girl is crying, the girl tells the story, and then he says, "In that case you come with me," and he takes him to maybe sister place or some other place. What is his liability? He is not liable, because what the girl has done, age of the girl is 10 and she has abandoned her guardianship. Now once she takes a decision not to be there with the guardian, and she is, such age is such where she knows the natural and probable consequences of the act that is done by him, then in that case what we say, the person without guardian cannot be kidnapped from lawful guardianship as far as section 361 is concerned. This offense cannot be committed with respect to an orphan, and hence liability, when we talk about liability, if this offense of kidnapping from lawful guardianship cannot be committed with respect to an orphan, accordingly this must be in the keeping, and hence right in the beginning when we started learning the provisions as far as kidnapping from lawful guardianship is concerned, there we learned that, well, this is an offense with respect to what? With respect to the right of the father who has been deprived to have right of the not only father but lawful guardian to have custody of the ward, if he has been deprived of the same, there starts his liability as far as section 361 of the Indian Penal Code is concerned. This offence, as soon as the girl or as soon as the minor, male or the female or the person of concern mind is taken out of the keeping of the lawful guardian, then the offence is complete. So as compared to abduction, this is not a continuing offence. You take a girl, once a person has taken a girl out of the keeping of the lawful guardian, and from there, if the girl is taken by somebody else, one who has taken from such a place cannot be said to have committed an offence, because she was not at all keeping in the lawful guardianship. Why she was not keeping? Because somebody had already taken her out of the keeping of the lawful guardian, as far as section 361 of the Indian Penal Code is concerned. With this now, as I mean, at times it is as you once you read, I mean, to know what is the distinction between abduction and kidnapping. There you have to, I mean, first of all try to understand, distinguish abduction from that of kidnapping from India, and then distinguish abduction from that of kidnapping from lawful guardianship as defined by section 361, taking into consideration the ingredients with which you have dealt so far. With this now, the section 363, as we start, I mean, dealing with the punishment, section 363 says punishment for kidnapping, and it says whoever kidnaps any person from India or from lawful guardianship shall be punished with imprisonment of either description for term which may extend to 7 years, and shall also be liable to fine. So this is as far as section 363 is concerned. 363A, kidnapping or maiming a minor for the purpose of begging, and it says whoever kidnaps any minor not being the lawful guardian of a minor obtains the custody of the minor in order that such minor may be employed or used for the purposes of begging shall be punishable with imprisonment of either description for term which may extend to 10 years, and shall also be liable to fine. Subclause 2 says whoever maims any minor in order such minor may be employed or used for the purpose of begging shall be punished with imprisonment for life, and shall also be liable to fine. Subclause 3 says where any person not being the lawful guardian of a minor employs or uses such minor for the purpose of begging, it shall be presumed, unless the contrary is proved, that he kidnapped or otherwise obtained the custody of that minor in order that the minor might be employed or used for the purposes of begging. And clause 4 says in this section, begging means 1. Soliciting or receiving alms or in a public place, whether under the pretense of singing, dancing, fortune telling, performing tricks, or selling articles or otherwise. Secondly, entering on any private premises for the purpose of soliciting or receiving alms. Thirdly, exposing or exhibiting with the object of obtaining or extorting alms any sore, wound, injury, deformity or disease, whether of himself or of any other person or of an animal. Fourthly, it says using a minor as an exhibit for the purpose of soliciting or receiving alms. And as far as minor is concerned, small b, it says minor means in case of male a person under 16 years of age, and in case of a female a person under 18 years of age. Section 364 defines, lays down punishment for kidnapping or abducting in order to murder, and it says whoever kidnaps or abducts any person in order that such person may be murdered or may be so disposed of as to be put in danger of being murdered shall be punished with imprisonment for life or rigorous imprisonment for a term which may extend to 10 years, and shall also be liable to fine. Section 364 capital A, kidnapping for ransom, and it says whoever kidnaps or abducts any person or keeps a person in detention after such kidnapping or abduction and threatens to cause death or hurt to such person, or by his conduct give rise to a reasonable apprehension that such person may be put to death or hurt, or causes hurt or death to such a person in order to compel the government or any foreign state or international intergovernmental organization or any other person to do or abstain from doing any act or to pay a ransom shall be punishable with death or with imprisonment for life, and shall also be liable to fine. Section 365, kidnapping or abducting with intent secretly and wrongfully to confine person, and it says whoever kidnaps or abducts any person with intent to cause that person to be secretly and wrongfully confined shall be punished with imprisonment of either description for term which may extend to 7 years, and shall also be liable to fine. Section 366 defines lays down the punishment for kidnapping or abducting or inducing woman to compel her to marriage, and it says whoever kidnaps or abducts any woman with intent that she may be compelled or knowing it to be likely that she will be compelled to marry any person against her will, or in order that she may be forced or seduced to illicit intercourse, or knowing it to be likely that she will be forced or seduced to illicit intercourse, shall be punished with imprisonment of either description for term which may extend to 10 years, and shall also be liable to fine. And whoever by means of criminal intimidation as defined in this code, or abuse of authority, or any other method of compulsion induces any woman to go from any place with intent that she may be, or knowing that it is likely that she will be forced or seduced to illicit intercourse with another person, shall be punishable as aforesaid. Section 366A, procuration of minor girl, and it says whoever by any means whatsoever induces any minor girl under the age of 18 years to go from any place or to do any act with intent that such girl may be, or knowing that it is likely that she will be forced or seduced to illicit intercourse with another person, shall be punishable with imprisonment which may extend to 10 years, and shall also be liable to fine. Section 366B, importation of girls from foreign country, and says whoever imports into India from any country outside India or from the state of Jammu and Kashmir any girl under the age of 21 years with intent that she may be, or knowing it to be likely that she will be forced or seduced to illicit intercourse with another person, shall be punished with imprisonment which may extend to 10 years, and shall also be liable to fine. Section 367, kidnapping or abducting in order to subject person to grievous hurt, slavery, etc. And it says whoever kidnaps or abducts any person in order that such person may be subjected or may be so disposed of as to be put in danger of being subjected to grievous hurt or slavery, or to the unnatural lust of any person, or knowing it to be likely that such person will be so subjected or disposed of, shall be punished with imprisonment of either description for term which may extend to 10 years, and shall also be liable to fine. Section 368, wrongfully concealing or keeping in confinement kidnapped or abducted person, and it says whoever knowingly that any person has been kidnapped or has been abducted wrongfully conceals or confines such person shall be punished in the same manner as if he had kidnapped or abducted such person with the same intention or knowledge, or for the same purpose as that with or for which he conceals or detains such person in confinement. Section 369, kidnapping or abducting child under 10 years with intent to steal from its person. It says whoever kidnaps or abducts any child under the age of 10 years with the intention of taking dishonestly any movable property from the person of such child shall be punished with imprisonment of either description or term, which may extend to 7 years, and shall also be liable to fine. Section 370, buying or disposing of any person as a slave. And it says whoever imports, exports, removes, buys, sells or disposes of any person as a slave, or accepts, receives or detains against his will any person as a slave, shall be punished with imprisonment of either description for a term which may extend to 7 years, and shall also be liable to fine. Section 371, habitual dealing in slaves. Whoever habitually imports, exports, removes, buys, sells, traffics or deals in slaves shall be punished with imprisonment for life or with imprisonment of either description for a term not exceeding 10 years, and shall also be liable to fine. Section 372, selling minor for the purpose of prostitution. And it says whoever sells, lets to hire or otherwise disposes any person under the age of 18 years with intent that such person shall at any stage be employed or used for the purpose of prostitution or illicit intercourse with any person, or for any unlawful and immoral purpose, or knowing it to be likely that such person will at any stage be employed or used for such purpose, shall be punished with imprisonment of either discretion for term which may extend to 10 years, and shall also be liable to fine. Explanation 1 to this section says, when a female under the age of 18 years is sold, let for hire or otherwise disposed of to a prostitute or to any person who keeps or manages a brothel, the person so disposing of such female shall, until the contrary is proved, be presumed to have disposed of her with the intent that she shall be used for the purpose of prostitution. And the explanation 2 says, for the purpose of this section, illicit intercourse means sexual intercourse between persons not united by marriage or by any union to or tie, which, though not amounting to a marriage, is recognized by the personal law or custom of the community to which they belong, or where they belong to different communities of both such communities as constituting between them a quasi-marital relation. Section 373, buying minor for the purposes of prostitution. Whoever buys, hires or otherwise obtains possession of any person under the age of 18 years with intent that such person shall at any stage be employed or used for the purpose of prostitution or illicit intercourse with any person, or for any unlawful or immoral purpose, or knowing it to be likely that such person will at any age be employed or used for any such purpose, shall be punished with imprisonment of either description for term which may extend to 10 years, and shall also be liable to fine. Explanation 1 to this section says, any prostitute or any person keeping or managing a brothel who buys, hires or otherwise obtains possession of female under the age of 18 years shall, until the contrary is proved, be presumed to have obtained possession of such female with the intent that she shall be used for the purpose of prostitution. Explanation 2 says illicit intercourse has the same meaning as in section 372. With this, the last section, as far as the punishment is concerned, deals with unlawful compulsory labor and says, whoever unlawfully compels any person to labor against the will of that person shall be punished with imprisonment of either discretion for a term which may extend to 1 year, or with fine, or with both. With this now, as far as offences affecting the human body is concerned, we intend to deal with now unnatural offence as it is defined by section 377 of the Indian Penal Code, and then one more section, namely section 375 of the Indian Penal Code, which defines the offence of rape. Once we finish with these sections, namely rape and unnatural offense, that will be the end as far as this chapter, right from section 299 up to section 377 of the Indian Penal Code is concerned. And as soon as we finish with this, we will, as I have told you in the past, we will go back to the general exceptions right from section 76 up to 106. Mind well one thing, that unless you have mastered offenses against the property and offenses affecting the human body, it may not be possible for you to understand general exception with which we shall be dealing right from section 76 up to 106. So kindly refresh your memory before we start with the general exception, so that it becomes very easy. It may not be possible, the time may not permit me, otherwise it will be a repetition of everything every now and then. Once it is repeated, no doubt about it, but every now and then. So what I will do, once I say what is wrongful confinement, what is assault, what is rape, it must click you immediately. Not necessarily you should remember everything, but you must know that this is an offense with which you already dealt as far as the offenses against the property or offenses affecting the human body is concerned. With this, we will continue our discussion as far as the offense of rape is concerned in the next part.